All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our lunchtime conversations with CKG. My name is Sarah Jean Scoble, and I'm the Director of Mental Health Education at the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation. Conversations with CKG is our webinar series that gives us an opportunity to take the difficult, scary topics about mental health that are often shied away from and turn them into open dialogue to inform and educate. Because having these conversations is one of the ways that we can end the stigma surrounding mental health. I'm joined by my team from CKG today. We're excited to be celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month. We were so fortunate to have our very first community day yesterday. That was our in-person event. It was wonderful to have community partners and just community members come together to celebrate mental health with a shared mission. And we're excited today to have a more narrowed down conversation about what this month means to us, why it's important as individuals and members of the CKG team to celebrate and prioritize our mental health. I know everyone from our team that's on right now is a parent. And so we've all learned, or we're still learning and practicing how to care not only for our own mental health as adults, as individuals, as parents, but also to teach our children how to do the same, right? How to handle big emotions and to talk about what they're feeling and to know that they're not alone in those feelings. So we want to share with you all what mental health means to us, how we practice self-care, but also how we can teach our children and our students to do the same, to build resilience and to celebrate mental health every single day, not just 1 month of the year. So we're all going to share a little bit about our seats at CKG, what mental health means to us there as a team, to ourselves personally, ways that we practice self-care. So you'll get to hear from all of us. And first, Grace, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And hello, everyone. I am Grace Gallagher. I'm the Executive Director of the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation. I am a mom of 5 and 1 furry, sweet little lab named Aspen, which as a self-care, that's one of my self-care is to cuddle with my dog when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. But Mental Health Awareness Month is so exciting. But as Sarah said, we got to take care of our mental health every single day. And that's what this team does. This team works hard every single day to be proactive and preventative and positive with their own mental health, but especially with what we're trying to deliver out there to the world. One of the things I'm super proud of is that we always talk about we do things differently. There is a mental health crisis, but we shouldn't be afraid of it. And we do it differently. We really are innovative, and we are not afraid to talk about it. And that's why conversations with CKG is so important, because if we don't truly be vulnerable and we aren't truly honest with what is happening in our own worlds, much less the worlds of our teens and students and people all around us, then change can't happen. And I often say to people that, there was a time where we had a lot of issues with drunk driving. And then we had Mothers Against Drunk Driving kind of come to the forefront and really educate teens out there. And so I think we should all take pause for a second and think about how having that conversation and educating really took the numbers of teens and drunk driving incidents and accidents and deaths down. So I often kind of giggle a little bit when people say, well, if you talk about it, it might put something in their mind. And I'm like, we're putting something positive in their mind. We're educating them. We're bringing awareness to this. And we're saying, hey, I'm not afraid to talk about this. Yes, am I uncomfortable at times? Sure. But just like we all say, you got to get a little uncomfortable to be able to grow. And that's what we need to do. We keep watering our kids. It's May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but they need watering every day. We need watering every day. Let's just keep pouring into mental health education. Let's keep talking about it and show our children that not only do we have to practice these things, we don't have to have all the answers. right? So I think being honest with our kids when you say, gosh, I'm really struggling today. I had so many negative self-talk like happening. And my team knows this. Yesterday I was on the way to work and I spilt coffee all over my white dress. And then I had to go inside and change, which made me late for our community day, which made me embarrassed and made me start saying things like, why don't I have my act together? This is going to look terrible that I'm not showing up on time. And then today, this same thing happened. I spilled coffee on myself. And today I decided to practice a little bit of Mental Health Awareness Month and just kind of laugh and say, you know what? This is what it is. I don't like it. Going to go change my shirt again. And then I'm going to start my day all over again. So, Grace Gallagher, and now I will turn it over to Melissa Phillips.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Phillips, and I do a lot of the behind the scenes administrative stuff at CKG and manage our database. To me, Mental Health Awareness Month is really a time to reflect on some of the habits that have come about in your life, both the positive and the negative ones. And it's a time to um, just really, really take a hard look at those and see where you can maybe weed out some of the negative ones and incorporate some new ones. And yeah, like Grace was talking about modeling for our kids, I have 3 little kids. And, at such a young age, it's important to start instilling some of those values in them, and also to not put too much pressure on yourself to always be saying or doing the right thing. So that's where that modeling comes into play for me, is being able to be honest with them when I am feeling frustrated or upset, but also, modeling some positive things they can do when they're feeling that way. So yeah, I love Mental Health Awareness Month because it does give us a great opportunity to share our mission with everybody and to let everybody get involved in doing that. And hopefully some of the things that others start this month will be carried on with them throughout the year. I will turn it over to Claire.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. My name is Claire Norman, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Grants here. It's a great role for me because my passion for the impacts that the CKG Foundation is able to achieve is just through the roof. And I see the need. We talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. And what that does for me is help with my stigma IQ. So for me, what that means is becoming more aware of where stigma still is landing, not only in our work, but even in our own personal lives and how we approach stigma with the people, and to carry the mission of CKG to reduce and erase, and to be able to show up in all of our conversations with an open ear and an open heart and compassion. And to me, that just takes stigma IQ up through the roof. You're seeing where it is and knowing you have a plan to address it by not turning away from the difficult conversations. And all impact, all improvement starts with that one moment where we can open our mouths and then the listener opens their ear and we can make some strides toward prevention, proactive coping skill delivery, and training. There's so much here. We've seemed to have codified some intuition inside people to be able to think about the tools that they would like to develop in their own lives. And so that awareness for me as part of this team is all year long, of course. But I noticed during our community day yesterday, the lively conversation in a very friendly, energetic atmosphere, people coming together to help each other on this charge to reduce stigma, erase stigma, and help ourselves and teens get the help that they need. So for me, it's that passion point. I'm very fortunate that I get a chance to work in a space I'm so passionate about, but I'm constantly evolving and changing and knowing where I can do better in the stigma space and where we can all do better. And in that way, as a village, we can make those big differences. And May for me is a fun month to pay attention to those topics and do our own personal skill building. So I love this team. I love this work, and I'm so thrilled with our supporters and people that lean in and listen and want to learn more about how we can work together. So, and I will turn now things over to Tara Lance.
Thanks, Claire. I am Tara Lance. I am our Director of Race Operations. I've been with CKG for almost 4 years now. But at CKG, being the race director is fun for me because I really believe that physical health and mental health go hand in hand. So it's nice to be able to bring people out to the Speak Up 5K to not only take care of their mental health, but also to be able to walk and run and take care of their physical health as well. I have two toddlers. Well, I shouldn't call my 4-year-old a toddler. She's almost a big kid now, but a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And we really just love to get outside and play because it makes all of us happier and really does, help with our mental health and keep us all good vibes. And Mental Health Awareness Month, I think, is so important because we think about January, and a lot of people use that start of the new year to set goals and resolutions for themselves around physical and mental health. And then a few months into the year, sometimes things start to fall off. People lose track of their goals. So this is a perfect time in May to kind of reset and set new goals. Maybe your priorities have changed, and just use kind of the springtime, the end of the year of school, ending of sports season, and going into summer break, and just be able to use this month to kind of set new goals for yourself for the summer and reset what you want to do to take care of yourself. So I will turn it over to Missy.
Thanks, Tara. Hi, everyone. I'm Missy Minton. I'm the Director of Operations for the Foundation. I've been blessed to call this my work life for 9 years. And as Director of Operations, I do kind of a little bit of everything, whether it's finance or human resources. I also raise some money for the foundation. And this is kind of like a perfect job for me because it gives me an opportunity to take care of my team and to take care, of the foundation in other ways. And I think, one of the reasons why I came to CKG at the time 9 years ago, had 3 young girls. My oldest at that time was 8 years old. And I thought to myself in that moment in time, life is hard. Life is hard. And as they grow older, I imagine it's going to get just a little bit heavier and a little bit harder. Wouldn't it be amazing if I was able to equip myself and in turn equip them with the skills that they needed to have a happy and healthy childhood? To me, this is a job that I love. It's a job I guess I wish I didn't have to have, but as long as there is a child out there who is growing up unhappy or just sad or anxious, then there's a place and a purpose for us. Mental Health Awareness Month to me is amazing because it gives us an opportunity to shine that light once again on dark conversations and make it open and easy and part of everyday life. Think about the things that we talk about on an everyday basis as we are taking care of ourselves and our children. Think about how often you stress, you got to have your fruits, you got to have your vegetables, you got to have a well-balanced meal, you need to study, you need to sleep the right amount of hours. And part of our jobs in removing that stigma is making sure that the mental health conversation flows from adults to children to teens and back and forth, just as easy as any other conversation that we would have any other day. And I think Melissa and Tara both said it's like a reset button. That's what May kind of means to me. It gives us an opportunity to bring community members and supporters of the foundation into the fold and introduce them to conversation because they too are influencers of young adults and teens and young children in their lives. And so I really like the fact that we do shine light on that conversation and we try to make it less scary because like Tara said, our physical health is important. We have a brain, so we have mental health. And it needs to be something that we can talk about just as easily as anything else that we do in a day. So I find that to be super important. I enjoy being someone that I think people in my community can rely on to come to for conversation. And sometimes that's all about, like Claire said, just being a good listener kind of holding this big empty bucket for people to pour into. And what that does for them and what it does also for me as a mom. My oldest is 17. Life is getting ready to change kind of as we know it. And I'm so grateful for all of the many positive and preventative and proactive coping skills that I've learned through the Cameron Gallagher Foundation that I can impart on them. And sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it can get ugly. But it's always done, with love and with light and with hope. And I think that's what kids need. They just need to know that they're heard and they're loved and that they're understood. And they are so much more than the things that they do. And it's really just making just these incredible humans, and hopeful that they grow into happy and healthy adults, because I believe that that's what they deserve. And I'll turn it back over to Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I guess I can talk a little bit about my seat specifically. So as I said, I'm the Director of Mental Health Education. And so I am in charge of running our programs, making sure our resources are up to date, and making sure we're getting them into the hands of the students that need them. So I work closely with school administrators and counselors, teachers, and sometimes parents, but I also get to work with students directly, which is really fun. Through our Speak Up clubs, we've done visits with our Speak Up clubs twice this year, so I got to see all the kids in the fall and then again in the spring. And it's been really awesome to see how much this really means to them and how seriously they take it, and how much they need it. And they're all about starting the conversations and just doing the activities with them. It's just it brings us back to our why, right? We do this for them. And so I've loved getting to talk to them, getting to work closely with them, but then also getting to see what they have come up with, right? We bring our activities to them and we do it with them, and they're so grateful. But I always really like to see how they come up with their own positive, uplifting activities. And so we've been able to see some of those on their Instagram pages and whatnot throughout this month. And so I think I love Mental Health Awareness Month because, a couple of you have said it's a reset, but it's also just a chance for us to see how the kids are celebrating it, and how they're taking their mental health seriously and prioritizing it. So I've loved that. I also do think it's good to view it as a reset. It's a reminder that you can reset, but I think it's also a reminder that you can reset anytime, right? There's never a wrong time, or it's never too late to start taking care of your mental health. So I just think that that's important for everyone to remember that, maybe you haven't tried that positive coping skill yet, but today might be the perfect day for that. So I think that. Sorry, Grace, did you want to say something? I didn't know if you
no,
were
I just am getting so excited about everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is so awesome. And I think that everybody watching can see like the passion and excitement in each one of us. But to hear Sarah talk about her like direct contact with those we're trying to serve, it just gets me so I'm proud of CKG, but just gets me excited to hear about like you said, what the teens come back with and how they have some of their own really introspective and intentional and purposeful activities. And I'm just proud of them, and we can learn a lot from them. So just like hearing you talk about it got me super excited.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome to see, the effect that we're having, but then also the effect that they have on us. And I think it kind of goes back to our kids too, right? To be open with them and let them know, like, hey, we're trying to teach you how to take care of your mental health and these positive coping skills, but it's also something that we're still learning and we're still working on. And I think that just, everything ties back to starting conversations and knowing that it's okay to start those conversations. That's what we want to do.
Yes, I agree. And Sarah does a good job in some of these activities of like even just giving the kids the vocabulary and the language. It can be something as simple as and we say this all the time inside the team, like you never say I am the flu. You say, I have the flu. And it's kind of like saying, I am overwhelmed or I feel overwhelmed. It doesn't negate what is truly happening, and you need to put it out there, but you don't have to be defined by that stress. You can have a relationship with it. And that relationship that you have with the stress in your life or the trauma or the hard times and the happy times, right? It's all part of you, and it doesn't make you that you are overwhelmed. You are feeling overwhelmed. So I think that's an important thing that just any parents listening in or teachers is like just modeling that. You don't even have to teach it, maybe even just saying, May is an amazing month, but it's a lot. It's a month full of graduations and it's recitals and tournaments and and it's about to be a transition into summer, and you might be going from middle school to high school or college or out to the workforce. So there's all kinds of transitions coming up that could bring up anxiety. A lot of exciting things that can bring up anxiety, but really looking at staying in tune as adults on how we're feeling, and maybe even sharing that with the people in our lives that are going through something like that could be a great modeling time and a good reset button, like everybody's kind of putting out there, right? I think this is exciting, and I love hearing my team talk about not just from their seat, but what the buckets they're filling just by doing this work, right? It's so awesome. I just wonder, and I know this kind of wasn't part of the plan, but I would love for each team member just to maybe what's the first memory that pops into your head that you love thinking about, whether it was, a an impactful teen coming up after the race and saying something like, "Oh my gosh, this was amazing. I didn't know other people, were struggling in darkness like me," or maybe there was a supporter or a sponsor that, changed something within their workplace because they are more aware of how important it is to take care of your mental health. And I just wonder if in your own lives, CKG team, what's something that pops out at you that's like a happy memory or a positive impact that you've seen just from your own seat or place in the CKG life?
I'll go.
Oh, go ahead.
Because it popped in my head as soon as you said that, Grace. I remember right when we were first introducing our first programming, and I was the guest speaker at Deep Run High School for their marathon dance. And I had a gymnasium full of kids sitting on the floor. There's probably about 600 people in there, and parents in the stands. And I stood in front of them and shared Cameron's story for the first time. And I distinctly remember the looks on some of their faces as I was talking about how the things that maybe they were going through now they thought was just the biggest thing in the whole world, and just sort of how at the end of the day, a couple of years down the road, they would find that those things did not matter. And I remember watching girls in particular just start to weep. And I think it was then that I remembered how powerful your words can be and how impactful the message is. And that has stuck with me. I was completely nervous. I felt completely also unqualified at that time to share that message. But I remember my confidence building, and I'll never ever really forget that feeling. I'll never forget the looks on their faces and the thank yous, afterwards. And that's really bolstered me, and it has stayed with me and continue to be, just an energy source for the work to come.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think mine was, I was leading a retreat. This was actually really soon after I started at CKG. And, doing our breath beat activity, doing some journaling in our stress awareness journal. And after one of the sessions, I had a couple 8th grade boys come up to me and thank me and tell me that they really enjoyed it. And so I'll always remember that, because I feel like, we talk about stigma in general with mental health, but I think there's an even greater stigma with males and men. I think that's safe to say. And so, we want to reach every student, of course, but it really stood out to me that these middle school boys were impacted by the work that we do. And so that's something that stuck with me.
Well, I'll jump in. I feel like I have a favorite memory every day. We get to do this work, but so I'll just pick the most recent. Yesterday, I had a conversation during Community Day, a young newly employed volunteer, newly employed by Dominion Energy, and she really lit up the room. I think all of us had a interaction with this young lady, and she's an engineer. And I found myself chatting, and she told me her whole story and some of the resilience that she's had to call upon in her life to get herself where she is now. And it's just the idea of storytelling and sharing. And I got this overwhelming thought, like, stigma has become reduced because this is a veritable stranger who has energy and an openness about her that's certainly would make it possible that she would want to share her things and her story. But she really inspired me to just know that everybody's got something to say. And we know that theoretically, but she really lit me up from the inside out. And I won't share her personal details at all, but the resilience I'm seeing in these young people and young adults to come back and keep showing up. They know the problems with mental health because they experienced them. And she had told me about a darker time in high school, and you'd never know, with this bright smile and this great energy. And I said, well, besides the suffering, you probably felt like you were alone. And she said, that's exactly right. And when I came to the other side, I realized I wasn't alone. And I said, the knowing you're not alone won't take away the suffering, but it will make healing more possible to you because you know people who have been through it. And it really charged me up for all that we want to bring to teens and their influencers about continuing to show up in the message and for yourself. But shout out to this young person that just lit up the room and lit up my heart and inspired me to keep showing up in my own way. So that was awesome.
I'll go next. One of my favorite memories, and like Claire said, there are so many all the time that it's hard to pick, but this one sticks out to me. This was back when we did races in other cities. And one of the cities that we were in, it was our second year there, and someone had crossed the finish line with her family, and she said to Grace and David, just how much she looked forward to this every single year. And prior to the first year, she was engaging in some self-harming behavior, and she had not done anything that whole year. And that was kind of like her benchmark was coming back to the race, and her being able to share that milestone and be there with her family. And I think she brought some of her friends too, just showed how important the work we're doing is, that we're letting this conversation be out there and giving people hope and something to hang on to and cling to in their darkest moments. So that would be mine. Tara?
Okay, I have two. So I try to go to the Speak Up Club meetings with Sarah when I can, because I really do love to see the teens just light up and talk to themselves and share stories with us. And there's a student at Atlee who happens to work at the dance studio that my daughter goes to. And last week I actually asked her what grade she was in. She said she was a junior, and I asked if she was going to do the Speak Up Club again next year. And she was like, of course, it's my favorite club. It just makes me so happy, and I love being able to go to all the meetings. So that, it just makes you feel good when you know that they are enjoying coming to the clubs and liking the work that we do. And then another experience, which is totally personal to me, but my first Speak Up 5K as the race director was in 2021. And I'm leaving my house at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. I'm driving the big budget truck loaded with bananas in the back. And I started crying, and I don't even think I knew how excited and how much passion I had for the Speak Up 5K until that moment. And then getting to Bird Park and watching the sunrise as we're all prepping for everything and seeing all the participants at the start line, there for the same reasons, and then seeing everyone smiling as they come across the finish line. It's the participants for the Speak Up 5K. For me, they inspire me. So it makes my job even more fun. It doesn't even feel like a job. I want to be doing it because it is so impactful, not just for them, but for me too. So makes me smile.
Don't pay attention if my eyes are leaking a little bit. Because this is it shows the passion and care, and I hope everyone listening knows the commitment that each individual has on making a difference in even just one child's life. So this is awesome. I love it.
I know. I think it just goes to show that, we're working to make an impact on the teens, but they're also making a big impact on us all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And we take good care of each other as well. Don't you think, team?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing I'd love to share with the community is how every Monday we have a quick kickoff meeting to start the week, and we've been taking turns on who's leading that kickoff meeting, and it's been like, no direction given, just say, how do you want to start your week? And each person on the team has been taking something that they use for self-care or positive coping skill and sharing it with the team. And really, we're building our toolbox at the same time as we're building toolbox out there to deliver to those we want to serve. So I think it would be nice for everybody in the community to know that we are practicing what we preach, and we all fall down and we all get back up again, and we help each other out. So it's super important. But anyway, sorry, Sarah, I totally interrupted.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Yeah. I think so for my, when I led the kickoff meeting a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that we did was go around and talk about something that we're good at, right? Because we give other people compliments very often and shout outs, but it's really important to remember what we're good at. Because when we're struggling or we're anxious or we're overwhelmed, that's what we focus on, right? And so I think sometimes we need to bring it back to what's good in our life, right? What do we have going for us? What have we accomplished? Who do we have around us? And I think that in and of itself can be a positive coping skill.
Yeah, just Sarah, one thing I wanted to add real quick as we move to your next section, whatever that may be, it's well, no, you keep us on our toes. I love that. But one thing that kind of shines through is this idea of lived experience. We are not separating ourselves as community impact makers from the problem. We know that we suffer ourselves, as Grace had said. We take care of each other. We try to focus on positive self-talk from what Sarah had just said. And so what you might see on the outside is the result of a lot of very hard work. We do come up with learning objectives. We vet all of our educational materials through industry experts. And so as much as our delivery is very everyday, it's very much meeting people where they are. It's very much taking these conversations into that very normalized setting. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of elbow grease that goes on into, the things that Sarah puts together for those Speak Up clubs. It's not just what she thinks might be cool for that day. It's really what she knows the need may be from all of her talking with our stakeholders in that way. And it's something, one of the things I'm most proud of in this group is not just how it comes across, but everything that goes into making sure we're bringing everything we can in that moment that has been proven or been seen to be effective in some way, even if it's anecdotally. But Grace has always said one of our biggest qualities as a team is being malleable and being able to adjust in real time. And that what gives us an edge, I feel like, in being out there and doing this work, is that we can shift and meet the need and solve the problems with all of our community partners in this. I like to use the word ecosystem because it's a whole bunch of us trying to do well by our teens so that next generation doesn't have to suffer with this stigma. It's so unnecessary. It's hard enough to suffer with mental health challenges. We don't need the stigma. And we've all lived through a lot of that. So I'm feeling, just proud about all the work that goes into these beautiful memories we were able to each experience and continue to experience.
Well, speaking of our work, one of the things that we put together for Mental Health Awareness Month was our self-care calendar. And so when we send out the recording for this, we'll send that out along with it as well. If you follow us on social media, you've seen that posted. And then every day we've been sharing something that you can practice as self-care. And I think self-care is great because it's, it can serve as a positive coping skill that we can do or use when we need something, right? When we're going through a tough time. But I think it's also something that we can do proactively, which is something that we talk about a lot, right? We want to provide you resources for when you or your child are going through something and you need help, but we also really want to take a proactive approach, right? To hopefully avoid that time. And so I think, we've shared a lot of self-care tips with that, but I think it would be great if we all shared something that we do personally for self-care or with our families. So I can go first. And one thing I like to do is read, and it helps me relax because I'll just sit there. Maybe I'll sit outside if it's nice outside. And that helps me relax. And then I'll also get caught up in whatever I'm reading. And so it helps to take my mind off of things for a little bit. So that's one thing that I do. If someone else wants to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody was jumping in. Well, I'm going to be like Sarah. I love my back porch and I love to read. And I do that a lot. I try to read a new book a month. I try to challenge myself to that. Like Sarah said, it kind of just allows my mind to break away. It also teaches my children too that, I have boundaries, and part of that is being able to kind of relax and, as mom, take care of myself. And they know when I'm reading that unless, the house is burning down, don't disturb me. But I do, I love to read, and I really, I feel like kids these days don't read enough books. I'd love to see a little more emphasis on that because that's definitely a positive coping skill.
Awesome. Don't everybody jump in at once.
I'll go next. I mean, my two biggest ones are running, and anytime it's sunny outside, just going for like a tiny little boost of sunshine really, really lifts my mood a lot. So I try to do that as much as possible. But one that I didn't realize what had such a big impact on me is making a to-do list, which I've always loved making lists, but May is a crazy time of year as a parent with all of the end of the school happenings. And I did not realize that until I have two kids in school. But it is like there are so many things going on. And then the spring sports. And I was feeling so frazzled last week, like trying to put everything down on paper. And once I was able to finally like work through that and get it all down on pen and paper, I felt so much better afterwards. So sometimes taking care of my mental health is just taking the time to list things out and write out your schedule and being able to see it all week. So that's one for me.
That's
I can
awesome.
go.
Yes, go next, Tara. I'll go last. I have so many swirling through my head right now, and y'all are giving me more ideas.
I have a couple too. Everyone on the CKG team already knows this about me, but I love naps and I love sleeping. And we all know that sleeping is important for our mental health, our physical health, all of those things. So I try to take a nap whenever I can, which is not always, but I highly recommend. And even if you cannot nap, sometimes it's just nice to lay on the couch and just lay down for 15 minutes and just like put your phone away and fully relax. The second, whenever at night, if I do wake up during the night, I would get on my phone and I would scroll social media, which we also know that's not always positive for our mental health. So I started sleeping with my phone plugged in across my room. So I have found I've been doing this for the last couple of months, and it has made such a huge difference just in my sleep, and knowing that I wasn't looking at my phone for 2 hours, 3 hours in the middle of the night. I actually went back to sleep. Imagine that. So I highly recommend that too. And I know, with a lot of teens, a lot of parents do take their phones away or have them turn them in before bedtime. But if you don't, then I think it's something that you could maybe help practice just to help your teen out too. One that costs money that I really do, also related to sleep, is I have one of the Hatch sound machines. I have them for my kids, but I have the adult version. And every night you pay for the app and you can choose different meditations or breathing exercises to do before you go to sleep. And most of the time I do a 20 to 25-minute exercise, and I realize that I have fallen asleep before it even gets to the end, which means it's doing its work. And it is nice to just, sometimes you can't shut your brain off. We lay down, we start thinking about everything before bed. And that really does help to kind of turn your brain off and let your awareness go into that meditation instead. And then another one, I like to just get outside too. Because it makes me happy. It makes my kids happy. We, as a family, like to spend a lot of time outside. So that's a huge one.
Well, I'll go second to last. I would agree with almost everybody. All the self-care that's been stated is I found also super helpful. But one thing I share with my kids is that self-care is not always fun or pleasant or relaxing, like making those appointments to go to the dentist or making those appointments to get your checkups, or maybe taking the time to clean off your desk and get your room organized as a way to like make things a little more clear in your environment. So as much as those things that help bring about the serotonin and all of the relaxation, sometimes the self-care doesn't feel good. But in prioritizing your own mental health and prioritizing what you need to do to make yourself the most vivacious person you can be, it's required. So like Melissa said, making a list, to putting yourself on that list, putting those to-dos that are required for you, get those readers with one up. I'm totally aging myself. Don't keep the readers from 6 months ago. And when you can stop at the store and pick up paper towels, but you can't go by the little stand and get yourself readers that work. I mean, it's those things that, that we need to continually stay on top of, that aren't always the feel goods or the zone out things that are also super important. So to me, it's that prioritizing on purpose, the intentionality of it.
I love that. I'm going to be a little bit better about that, Claire. So my go-to always is just get outside. Like sometimes when things are happening inside your head or inside your life, it's like the walls feel like they're coming in on me. And so I just need to just step outside, even just for a second. Ideally go for a quick walk, but if I can just get outside and get some fresh air on my face, it is my reset button that I can do in the moment right then. Sometimes if I'm in a place that I can't go outside, I'll just maybe just excuse myself to the restroom and just take a breath and just get out of the place I am where I'm feeling the most stress, like physically out of that place. But recently, this is just so funny to me that I had this aha moment. Recently, I just went through this major decluttering thing in my house. And I'm not somebody that normally is like that. Like I'm a little bit of a mess. So I was like, oh my gosh, I just got into clothes that I don't wear anymore. And I'm putting in the Goodwill pile, and I'm, throwing away old papers that I don't need anymore, and just getting rid of clutter. And I was like, oh my gosh, what has gotten into me? This is so not like me. And I had this aha moment that was like, wait a minute. There's things in my life right now I'm feeling like I'm out of control in, and this is something I can control. So I can control decluttering my environment And then that way, while I'm in the moment, I can be truly in the moment and truly present. And maybe that helps the cluttering noise that's inside this head of mine just be a little bit quieter. And it really did work. So I do recommend going outside and decluttering things around in your life will help tremendously.
It works for your
Love it.
kids too. I
Mhm.
have two that have messy rooms, and I find that they actually were the ones who have the hardest time keeping up with their work. My one child, who has a perfectly straight Hilton-like bedroom, never misses turning in an assignment and is really on, kind of on top of her game. And I took the time to declutter their two rooms, fewer choices, declutter the room, declutter the mind. And it has really proven to be beneficial. Simplify. That was kind of, that's our theme for May, is to just streamline and simplify. Give, so they have fewer choices. Typically, our kids have everything that they need. Maybe they don't have everything that they want, but I left them in their room with absolutely everything that they need, and they feel more in control of their lives. And that, like you said, that is something that, that they can control. So it doesn't only just work for us, but it does work on teenagers too. I can testify to that.
Well, I think it's nice too when we, one of the activities that we've done with Speak Up Clubs recently is positive coping skills keychains. And so we've made little squares with different positive coping skills. I think we had like 12 or 13 options for them to choose from. And we took them to the schools, and some kids chose all 13. Some kids maybe chose like 5 or 6. But I think it's just important to have those options and then all the different things that we talked about, because maybe I like reading, but maybe that doesn't work for someone else, right? Or Mel likes running, but not all of us are runners, and that's not going to be a good skill for all of us. And so I think it's just important to find what works for you and what works for your kids in that moment. Well, I think that we have covered everything that we talked about, and answered any questions, but does anyone else have anything that you wanted to share about Mental Health Awareness Month? I know we've got a couple other emails going out, and some more offerings throughout the month, but if anyone else wanted to share anything before we wrap up today.
I'd just like to say thank you, Sarah, for putting this together. Thank you for heading up the conversations with CKG whole program. I hope the community stays very engaged on what is happening with us. Stay in touch with us on newsletter, social media. Just pay attention, because May 31st will come, and this is a great time to celebrate it and hit that reset button. But then there's June 1st. And, we want to continue the momentum of prioritizing your mental health and your mental well-being, because everything else will fall into place in a much more positive way when we prioritize that. I want to share how proud I am to have a group of people that I get the privilege to work with who are passionately committed to all the sweat and tears that we all experience to help even just one child, one person. And it's worth it. It's worth every ounce of it. And I want everybody to continue to take care of their mental health. I want you to stay in touch. We have, in 2025, we're going to have an exciting new look to Conversations with CKG, and you're going to have even more access to more conversations. So just stay in touch. Know that we're here for you, and always reach out to us through our website. You can get in touch with any of us that way, and keep taking good care of your mental health.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll be sending this recording out. We'll be sending a few other things out this month. And then, like Grace said, just keep an eye on our website and our newsletter for all of our events and information. And then in the next month or so, we'll be sharing details for our August conversation. So just keep an eye out for all of that. Thank you for joining us, and hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Bye.